What's up, folks? So today we're working on the Tour X, still getting a lot of things worked out and finished up. Um, with all that being said, we got the brakes to do, front brakes specifically. I put a new line on because of the 12-inch bars, a new brake line, new clutch line, and I was bleeding the brakes the old-fashioned way, and it was not working whatsoever. And so I talked to Mike Seastrom with Valhalla Motor Works, and he gave me the technique. And so the technique worked for me, and I want to share the technique with all of you because this is an ongoing issue with I guess with motorcycles in general, but the Excelsiors for sure. So with all that, we're going to move on to the next thing. I'm going to show you what we need, what tools we need, what the trick is, and then kind of how I did it, and it worked really fast. So that's what we're going to do next. So hang out with me. To do the job of bleeding the front brakes, so anytime you're going to replace a brake line, do any service to it, anytime you introduce air to the brake line system, or to the brake system in general, you got to bleed the brakes. Well, on this particular bike, it appears to be a pain in the butt. So the tools we're going to need first is we're going to need an 11 wrench. That's for the bleeder valve. And then, so I got a 100 milliliter syringe. It came in a 4-pack on Amazon. I'll set that one off to the side because, as you can see, I've already got it hooked up here. I've got a 100 milliliter syringe. I think Mike uses a 90. The bigger ones seem to work good because you're able to pull through as much air as you can per pull, because you have to repeat the process a couple times. Here I've got just a measured bucket. You really don't need the measurements on it, just something you can discharge the old fluid in. As you can see, I've got the old dirty fluid in there. Don't need this cup, but the reason I've got this out is go to any parts store, you can get a bleeder kit. It comes with this little cup, comes with this rubber hose over here, and it comes with a variety of attachments like these. Well, for this particular instance, I did not use any of the adapters, and I did not use the cup. But what we do need, is this rubber line. It's just a rubber hose. Also, we're going to need .5 brake fluid. Definitely only use .5. Do not use .5.0, or excuse me, it's .5.1. We do not want that one. So those are the tools you're going to need. Also going to need a rag, and I'll show you the next step. One of the tools I forgot to mention is just a basic Phillips head screwdriver. That's going to be to remove the screws up here. One thing I like to do, precautionary, put a slit in a rag, and you can make your own little bib here for the reservoir. That way, if it leaks at all, it doesn't get on your paint, because historically brake fluid is pretty aggressive stuff, and it can you just don't want that on your paint, other components. So make you a little bib, then you're going to use a Phillips head screwdriver, pull these two tops off. Since I already did the job, I'm not going to open this back up, but when you do, you take these two screws off, this metal cap will come off. Underneath there's going to be a plastic, basically like a diaphragm, and then there's a rubber diaphragm. Both of those will come off. It'll reveal the inside of the reservoir. Inside you're going to see your old fluid. All the way on this far side, closest to the grip, there's a hole down in there. Okay, that hole, you never want the fluid level to get down to that hole, because then it's going to suck air and you're going to be back to square one, and not good. So definitely want to make sure you keep it topped off. Also, you want to turn the handlebars to where you can get this as level as possible, so you can keep as much fluid in there as possible without it spilling and whatnot. So that's very important. But for the video, I'm not going to take this off, and I've got the bars tilted to the right so that I can show you what's going on down there at the caliper. Now we're back down here at the front brake caliper. This is where your line runs in, supplying the fluid. Right here to the left, there's going to be a black rubber cap. You take that black rubber cap off, it's going to reveal the bleeder nipple, or bleeder valve, however you want to call it. So the way I do it is the way I did it, I took this rubber hose that you can get at any parts store. You can come in the kit. If you already have one, perfect. It's any standard brake line bleeder line. It's clear so you can see the fluid. So you will, the way I did it, and I think this works the best, is first you put the hose onto the bleeder valve. Then I took this wrench and I fished it this direction over top. Turned it all the way to the left, and that way it sat right here, as close to the front fork as you can. That way when you turn it, you can let go and the wrench doesn't fall off. If you use this end, the open end, it's gonna be a pain and it's not ideal. So that's just a little trick that worked good for me. So at this point, the valve is closed all the way to the left. When you open it, you really only want to open it to a quarter of a turn, which is going to be basically all the way here to the fender. And then because it's locked on there with the closed end of the wrench, it won't fall off. Next, what you'll do is you'll have your syringe closed all the way. As you crack the valve open, you're going to expand the syringe, and it's going to start vacuum pulling the fluid and the air through. I believe I did this process 5 times. I probably did it more than I needed to, but I just wanted to be sure. Brake fluid isn't extremely expensive, and I just wanted to make sure the process was good, and wanted to make sure I had a good brake handle or good pressure on the brake handle. So just to repeat that one more time, you have your wrench set up just like with the tips I gave you. You have your syringe. The hose is pushed right onto the inside of that, so it's a good seal. Everything's got a good seal. As you crack this open, you're then going to expand the syringe, causing a vacuum, and you're going to draw that fluid through. Once you get to the point where there's no more, you're going to turn it. You're going to tighten the screw back so that way it cuts off the bleeder valve. Then you can disconnect this hose. You'll definitely want your bucket down here so it'll catch the fluid. Disconnect your hose and then empty out your syringe. Make sure the syringe is collapsed. Reattach the hose. Then you're going to basically just keep doing the same process over and over. Okay. The important part of this is making sure that you don't run out of fluid in the reservoir up on the handlebars. So I think every two processes I did with the syringe, I went up there and topped off. And that worked out good for me. So a good rule of thumb, as you're doing this process, come back up here and check your brake lever. Obviously, when you first start this, you have air in your line, or you're putting a new line on, whatever the case may be. When you grab this, there's going to be no pressure. It's going to collapse straight to the handle, and then it's not going to be pushing any fluid like it should. So as you're going throughout the process, and you come back up here to top off your reservoir, check your handle. Check your handle. And let me move the camera over a little bit. A kind of a reference point that I was using off of my other bike, 311 over there, is using this port right here as a reference. And I've got it, after doing the bleeding vacuum process with the syringe, I believe 4 or 5 times, maybe 6 tops, I've got it exactly the same way as the other one. And it's working really good right now. So like I said, I went through, put a brand new line on, so I had a ton of air. I got rid of all the old fluid. I cleaned out all the old fluid, so I had nothing in it. Filled the reservoir up with new fluid, and then started this process. So I hope this works good for you. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Obviously, Mike Seastrom at Valhalla Motorworks, he knows what's going on. He's the one that showed me this trick, and it worked like a charm. Trying to bleed these the old-fashioned way, you're fighting the bubbles up to the reservoir. You're working against gravity, and it just did not work for me whatsoever. And I know just from hearing other people talk about it, this has been an ongoing issue, and so this is the trick, and it worked really, really good for me. So if you're an Excelsior-Henderson owner, or you're doing some work on one, or any motorcycle, I would imagine for that matter, definitely get you a syringe like this. They come in a 4-pack. It was like $7. Get you a rubber hose. You've already got the wrench. Keep some fluid on hand, and this is a job that you can easily do. A side note, I'm also going to be doing the clutch line as well. These bikes have hydraulic clutch line or hydraulic clutches, and it uses the same fluid for the clutch. Well, if you watched my previous video, you'll know that I bought a line too short. So I've ordered a new one since then, a custom made line. I think it's 65 inches. And that way I'll have plenty of line. I can route it the correct way. But with this being said, you pull the primary cover off. It reveals the bleeder valve just like this for the clutch. And you basically just repeat the same process with that to get your clutch done. So I will be doing that as soon as the new line comes in, and I'll make a video on that as well, and we'll just continue on. This winter, I'm probably going to just do now that I know the trick, I'm probably going to do a full service on all the bikes while they're down and get them with fresh fluid in them, and just check the brakes over. And winter's a good time to do all your maintenance and stuff like that, and that's why it's ready for the next season. So I hope all this helped. Like I said, if you have any questions, reach out to me. And I really think this is a job that you can do. So I appreciate you hanging out and tuning in, and I'll keep the videos coming.